What are you going to do with it?
Yeah, I felt it got a bit under my feet. If you're thinking of a slapback kind of retro Milkman kind of thing, so I thought, very retro is going to get me in the pocket of that stuff and maybe fill out my sound a bit more without getting under my feet. Most things do get under your feet. I've been looking for something that I can just turn on and leave on, and when playing gets busy, it backs off, and when my playing gets more sparse, it tightens up. And the only effect that I found was able to do that was that when I had the TC Helicon Play Electric, the reverbs on that were really good because when you got really busy, the reverb backed right off, and when your playing became more sparse, it seemed to come back into the picture. This doesn't do that. And also, I think the marketing's a bit funny with it because it's marketed, well, as I understand it, I see Milkman. We don't have Milkman anymore. The last time we had Milkman was in the 1950s. So I was assuming, just by the means of deduction, that it was retro. So it looks retro and it looks very nice, but when you're turning the dials to try and adjust what sound you want, it starts getting really psychedelic and weird and experimental. Would you agree with that? And that's not retro. But yeah, it's not for me. The Red Dirt, I was enjoying that a lot, and stacked with the GT one, I think it sounds really good and I'll be keeping that. And I have already sold it once, so I'm not making that mistake again. I was enjoying the Red Dirt. Did you have it on the whole time? That was really...
On and off.
It was lovely and saturated, and it's a really great pedal, and for such a small pedal, it's fantastic, I think. The Milkman, if you think you can put it on and leave it on the whole time, you can't. It's not subtle, but it kind of is. It's on the one hand, it's weird. It's like on the one hand, it's hard to see whether you've got it on more subtle settings. But on the other hand, it still does muddy up the mix. Do you hear? It kind of overdrives it in a way that kind of almost like a heavy metal distortion saturates. It saturates your distortions to the point they sound a lot heavier and grimier and more feedbacky. So it saturates your distortion, it changes the tone of your actual distortion. It's a lot heavier than I thought. I thought it would be much more, like I said, subtle and retro and minimalistic and kicks back.
Is it digital or it's analog?
I actually don't even know. I didn't even bother reading the pamphlet or looking at it. I think this is again with the demos. In a real life context, I'm not trying to make the pedal sound the best. I'm trying to produce my songs, and in that journey I'm trying to engage some pedals to help with production, really. I'm not working my guts out to make the pedal sound the best and sell it to you. I'm just trying to use it for me and documenting it like in an ethnographic way, documenting my journey with pedals and where I'm at with them and my perceptions of them when I'm viewing them on the internet versus the real life experience, which often is very, very different. But if you want to incorporate this into a pre-existing set of songs, every song's going to have different timing, unless you're a punk band, of course. But, every song's going to have different timing and have a different groove and feel, and you can't just leave this pedal on. Like, if you're a tweaker and you like sounds that are experimental, then that's great. But this pedal's not working for me. It's my first JHS pedal. I think it looks fantastic, and I think the JHS make visually really beautiful stuff. I haven't had any other pedals by this one. Like I said, for a certain kind of person, it's perfect. I don't think it's like a poor quality pedal or anything like that. It's just for what I'm trying to achieve, it's not good at all. But I think it's well built. It looks very attractive. The LED light's very clear to see. It's still a reasonably small package. It's got super nice stuff in the box. The box is really, just pass the box to me. It's just so well presented. But you get a nice plectrum with it. It says Gravity JHS pedals. It's got really cool designs. I really like the aesthetic of it. Beautiful sticker. Great booklet. I love booklets. People don't do enough booklets, and I think the JHS have really done a lovely packaging. You feel like you're getting a gift. You've got a nice booklet. Let me just turn my volumes down. Knowing Lucille, she'll still be noisy even if I turn her volumes down because she doesn't know how to be quiet. A bit like her owner, really. Lovely booklet. They do lots of modification pedals, and yeah. But the point is that that's not that's not irrelevant. Having a nice presentation, that is something that really makes you feel more tenderly towards the makers. So good on them for doing that. And I'm sure this pedal would be very good for people who are doing your experimental stuff because I think it's actually quite a good pedal, but not for me.
Its footprint's also very good to fit on a pedal board.
Footprint is excellent, yeah. And I associate that whole thing of like the red knob and the other knobs of being white. distinguishing the knob colours from the pedal, at least one of them in that case. It's very appealing. There's something very lush and attractive about it. Something you want to own. But yeah, it's not for me. Sonically, it's not going to work.
And it's 2 for 1. It's a boost, and so for form factor on a tight pedal board, you're getting 2 pedals in one.
It is like I said, if I don't, the thing is I don't want to be switching a lot, but I can see for certain lines it's very useful. Like it sounds, if you hear it on and off with a line like this, like. For that kind of stuff, it sounds good. Like it sounds, oh, the strings are hot, I can feel them hot now. For that kind of stuff, it sounds better than without it. Can you turn it off? And one other passage. Can you click it on? And now without it. But yeah, now I actually don't even know whether I prefer that on or off. What do you think, Sandy?
I'm not sure.
I actually don't know. It sounds good off because it's a nice passage.
It's a subtle. I guess the reason you wanted it originally was for a sense of it like a thickener, a doubler.
Yeah.
And it does do that very well.
Yeah.
But I see how on some songs it can get under your feet.
Yeah.
And particularly because we have such busy mixes in our songs.
Yeah.
It could get a bit too muddy and washy.
I guess the trouble with my parts is that I go from slow to fast. I go from that kind of passage to. My playing's very dynamic, so I'll go from a really fast kind of rockabilly type part to a very slow bluesy part to a really busy rhythmic jazzy part to a little hooky lick, which is more kind of countryish in feel. So I'm constantly changing my styles. So for me, with this pedal, I have to be constantly turning on and off and on and off and on and off, you know, because to suit the different parts. And then that distracts from my playing. And then, you know, I like to just set the pedals up and just forget about them and play. And I think pedals these days are made for people who are just constantly tweaking and just turn on and leave them off. Those sorts of pedals are becoming more rarefied. So for my passages, I'm playing a lot of passages that have very different voicings, you know, with like triads and, you know, duets, like chords with 2 strings or 3 strings, smacky stuff, you know, a little bit of ballady stuff, arpeggios, string skipping, all sorts of different techniques. And if you're using different techniques, different tones go with different techniques. So the simpler the tone for me, the better, because my playing is telling the story. But if your pedals are telling the story and you're happy to click on and off and on and off, then this would be a good pedal. But if you just want to leave it on, I don't think you can do that with the Milkman. I don't think you can, so.